Hello, friends, and welcome to the Handyman Success Podcast. Our mission is to teach and inspire prospective, new, and seasoned handyman business owners. You'll come away from each episode with practical business tips and fresh inspiration, whether it's through the stories of our guests or discussions on topics like pricing, marketing, and more. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Call, owner of Handyman Marketing Pros. I'm joined by my co-host, Alan Lee, who coaches handyman business owners at the Handyman Journey, as well as owning Honestly Handyman Services based out of Northern California. You can learn more about our show, free webinars and training, marketing services, coaching, CRM software, and basically anything that can help your handyman business. We've got that for you at handymansuccess.net. We also invite you to join us in our private Facebook group, the Handyman Journey Mastermind. That's our intro. Now let's get to it. Whether you're patching drywall, sitting in the office, or making your third run to Home Depot, we invite you to pull up a chair and sit with us on another episode of the Handyman Success Podcast. Welcome, everybody. Today, we have our friend Jim Bliss, owner of the Bliss Fix, located in Jefferson, Georgia. Jim, thank you so much, man, for taking the time to talk with us today. And also, real quick here, Jim is joining us from a cruise ship. Jim is literally on the open seas on a nice vacation and graciously took the time to visit with us. So, Jim, thank you so much for taking the time, man. If you could give us a little snapshot of you and your business, and maybe a quick little snippet of the cruise ship that you're on.
Yes. So my name is Jim Bliss. We're in Jefferson, Georgia. We started the Bliss Fix back in June of 2024 as a dependable handyman service. Currently, I'm on the Wonder of the Seas, Royal Caribbean. We visited St. Martin, St. Kitts, St. Thomas, St. Kitts. And we're actually on our way back to Orlando to catch a flight to get back home to Georgia to start working again for next week. So just a little rest and relaxation, which was very well needed. This week it's really helped out. So it's kind of funny.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thanks again. You're our first guest joining us from a cruise ship, so I would imagine that one's going to be really hard to ever match. Um, so let's see if you could give us a little bit more snapshot as far as like, okay, the Bliss Fix located in Jefferson, Georgia. Like, do you have any like team members working with you? I know you just started last year in June. And also any specific service focus about the Bliss Fix.
So currently right now it's really just me and my wife Emily. I have two sons, Dylan and Tyler Bliss, which Dylan is able to help me a little bit. Tyler's actually helped me a couple times, but right now no real employees, something like that. Um, so that's where we're at right now. It may be something in the future to think about, or as we're growing. The growth has been, kind of crazy right now, just from, like I said, starting in June of 2024 till today. It's been extremely busy. So as of right now, we do not have any other employees, technically right now. As far as work, I think I was telling Alan here a while back. Right now, I've been doing a little bit of everything. So almost everything's been thrown at me. If I felt like I could do it, I was doing it. As I'm learning, as this goes on, is that not every job is my job, and not every customer is my customer. So there's going to be, some of the things that I, starting to turn down versus what I was not turning down whenever I first started. But again, we're really focusing on, just kind of the normal things right now: ceiling fans, sheetrock repair, TV installs. I do a lot of picture hanging, believe it or not. Things of that nature right now. So I've remodeled some bathrooms, did some wainscoting. So I would say pretty typical handyman stuff, but not the big like remodeling that I see some people doing.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing the snapshot there. We cut out just a wee bit. I think the high C's.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
the high C's are a second there, but we got the gist of it. So what were you doing before this, Jim? Like, how did you get started in the handyman game?
Right. So I've worked probably about 25 years in corporate America, worked for two, really major companies. And so the first company I was with about 22 years, and really just, had a great working relationship. There was nothing wrong with the company or the people that I worked with some fantastic people. But it felt like I'd went pretty much as far as I could go with the company. Had some decisions that needed to be made, and really, after a lot of prayer, was just overwhelmed with the decision to try to look for something else. I never in a million years would have thought I would have done that. And so, to make a long story short, I filled out one application, and they accepted my application. So a new company hired me, basically, gave me everything that I needed to be able to make that decision. 22 years with one company when I had very good, relationships and very good benefits, all of that was kind of crazy to do that. But I took a leap of faith and moved to this next company. And within about the first 3 months that I started with this company, the people that hired me left. They brought in new management, and things just kind of changed. I thought everything was going good. About a year, year and a half, maybe a year, a couple months, whatever. They decided they wanted to eliminate my position. Didn't seem like it was needed anymore. So I'd been doing a little bit of research on the handyman, like some franchises, like purchasing a franchise or something like that, but felt like those numbers were really kind of out of hand. They're very expensive, very hard to do. And I really felt like if I was going to do something, I could do it without, owning a franchise, so to speak. And so I've been already researching that. And so I think they limited the position around June 3rd. And probably I think by June 5th, we started, really saying, hey, what do we think? Do we think this could happen? Talked it over with my wife. And she was like, right now is a great time. We've made some really good financial decisions years before, early on. So we're able to, get a lot of things that a lot of people may not have been able to pay off. And we've paid those off. And so financially, we're in a good position. Was not worried about that. My wife has a very good job, so insurance was not a problem. And so basically, we just started putting it out there to friends and family. And what was funny is I'm not really saying I'm really big on AI or Chat GPT, but we had kind of done that to try to get a name. I mean, most people be JB's Handy Service or Bliss Handy Service, whatever that was going to be, or whatever that looked like. And my daughter-in-law, Jordan, had come up with this thing, Bliss Fix, and she said, "You're always fixing things." And so I was like, "It's kind of catchy, whatever." So that's how the name come about. Well, she actually picked that name, and so it kind of stuck, and we started running with it. We had the name. My sister-in-law helped us with some of the LLC stuff. We got the insurance, got everything, kind of put into place. And we had some really good well, we have some really good friends and family that were able to, once they knew what we were doing, um, they started calling and said, "Hey, I'd love for you to come do something for me." So one day I'm not doing anything. Next day I'm building shadow boxes in somebody, an interior designer's house, and building that. Kind of a funny story is, whenever I was doing, that was one of the first jobs that I had, and I'm outside, it's in the pouring sun, and another realtor friend had that we have calls and says, "Hey, I have something for you to do," and I almost teared up. I think I did tear up. I'm like, "I have to turn you down. I have too much." They needed it done like the next day, and I'm like, "I already have too much work," and that was within the first 2 weeks of starting the handyman business. And to be honest with you, I have not missed a day since. If I missed a day, it's because I didn't want to work a day, but I have all the work I need. It's really been crazy. It's been a whirlwind of things happening, way more than I ever expected. Things happen fast, they happen furious. From needing a tool to needing a truck to needing a trailer, for different variations of things that I was doing. It really just was, out of the ordinary, and I had a lot of support from my family, a lot of support from friends. Once they started calling, "Hey, can you come do this? Can you come do that?" And really was just pushing myself to do things I really, didn't know whether I could do them or not. And so once you get out there, you watch a couple of YouTube videos, and you're like, "Okay, I got this." So that's really how it all got started. And like I said, we have not looked back since and not regretted that decision. What was weird was, when I first left the company from 22 years to where I'm at today, I was like I said, I prayed about it, and it was really weird because when I got the second job, I thought, "This is it." Like, God put this right there in perspective and laid it all out for me. And then it was gone. And I was like, "I don't understand, kind of what happens." And wherever I'm at today is all because of him, because of what he's blessed us with. And it's just been a whirlwind from there and going straight forward. I have no regrets and all my faith in him. And I just really appreciate all friends and family that have supported us. And it's still growing. I mean, every day it grows. So.
And I love that. I love that, Jim. I got kind of a twofold question for you. A lot of handyman ask us this question is like, how did you originally learn handyman stuff? How did you learn how to do this stuff? And then how do you address jobs that you don't know how to do? Specifically, like with the customer, or how do you go about like getting your mindset ready or understanding how to do the job? Like, how do you do that?
A lot of anxiety. So, the first part of your question was, I've pretty much done handyman stuff my whole life, meaning I've just tried to fix it, or if I didn't know how to fix it, I asked somebody. When, obviously I'm in the generation where Google and YouTube and all that kind of got started. So I started, looking stuff up from there, is really the basics. I actually started out in my career as a welder. So I used to weld, read blueprints and all that kind of stuff. And that's why, kind of putting things together. That's where I kinda got started. I have a lot like, a lot of friends and family that helped me, that I've met through the years, building stuff, doing construction, things like that, that they've helped me with. Um, what was the second part of your question, Alan? I'm sorry. Oh,
What do you do with jobs that you don't know how to do?
well, again, probably look up YouTube. Um, I try to have a lot of faith in myself that I can get it. Once I get something in my hands, I really believe I can, kind of figure it out. And I just try to do that, going forward. I try not to turn anything down if I even for the, just have a small inkling of thinking that I can take care of their situation, the problem. I really enjoy helping people and I like giving people a solution and I want them to depend on me, to be able to do that, to whether I can do this one or call back the next one. If I honestly just do not feel like I can do that job, 9 times out of 10, I know somebody who can, and I'll refer them, to that person or that company. Sure.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Jim. One thing that, like, I just commend you on is, like, that referral kind of list, because that's value that you can give to your customers. Like, if you can't get to it right away, or if you just aren't, like, a specialty in that, your customers will value you for giving a solid referral. So that's I think that's a really great value add that any handyman can know is if you don't know how to do it, or if you just can't get to it, have a solid book of referrals of really great companies, good people, good businesses that you can refer out to, because your clients are going to, in some way, attribute that value to you and really appreciate that. Also, I couldn't help but kind of like I chuckled a bit, like maybe not chuckle's the right word, but whenever you had to turn down that job, like you're just like emotional, like I can't get to it. I'm so sorry. Like I just commend your heart to serve and help people, and the kind of building up the muscle of like saying like, I'd love to help you. It's gonna be 3 weeks. I understand this is an emergency, so here's a couple people that you could maybe contact. So there's a lot of value in that. So my heart goes out to you. I could really sense like, gosh, what an emotional moment. But that's something that any successful handyman that's skilled, that cares to serve, they're going to have to overcome that. They can't help everybody right away. They have to have a structure and a schedule.
Yeah, and so far people have been pretty good about it. Like they've been willing to wait. I have people right now that are waiting that are booked into September, for me to get back actually from this cruise. That they've been, kind of, respectful for my time and our company's time to be able to, come back later and do these. They're willing to wait. And I really appreciate that because, I know that people have things to do and they have, items, they have their projects that they want done, but they're willing to wait. Um, I never expected whenever I started to be booked out 2 and 3, sometimes 3 weeks. I just never expected that. And I am currently right now up to 2 to 3 weeks, kind of booked out, in and out of jobs. Like some may take 2 days, some may take 1 day, some may take an hour. It just depends. They're all kind of different. Um, and some of the customers I thought just had to call and say, "I'm sorry, I know I had you booked on Thursday, but it's going to be next X, until I can do that." And they've just been very, commendable for that. So
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that's one mark of good clients and good customer service is having people that like understand that life comes up. and life changes and things happen. I remember back in 2018 when my daughter was born, we had to spend quite a few weeks in the NICU with my daughter. And I remember like calling all my clients because I was booked out for a while too. And graciously, like I don't think we lost a single client during that time. They're like, yeah, take care of your family. The job will be here when you get back. And like, those are the people that it's just amazing. Like the types of people you get to meet when you're doing this. There's obviously those low ballers that don't really care about you or kind of what you're doing. They just want their job done. But when you really like pinpoint who your ideal client is, it's pretty exciting to like have a mutually beneficial relationship. It makes it really fun.
I would love to hear, Alan, like, what's your perspective, like, as your business grew, as far as people being more understanding of schedule changes? Because in my opinion, people get less understanding when it moves from, Jim Bliss, the handyman, or Alan Lee, the handyman, to honest lead handyman services and different technicians coming out. So any perspective that you can shed on that, Alan, as far as, the difference there?
Yeah, I'd say it's a big difference, from then when I was like the only guy and, I had a kid that was in the NICU and didn't have anyone else to help me out, to now where we have, an actual business and brand and bunch of reviews and things like that. So it's definitely shifted. People are still forgiving because we have really strong, like core ideal clients. But it is way less forgiving for sure. And the matter of fact is, as you have more employees like we do, you need more jobs. So you're not necessarily working with 100% your ideal client every single time. You might be working with an 80% ideal client, you're trying to get rid of the 50s and all that, 50 and below, you're not working with them at all. So it is, you do get some of that, but really if you establish your branding and establish your marketing correctly and filter out the people that, you don't want to work with, typically you can attract, the right type of customers. But it is a little bit more like, hey, you said you were going to do this. Where's the guy? So, and it's a little bit easier with multiple people to make that happen. But like if you have two techs and one technician has a medical emergency and has to go to the hospital, right? That means you, as the owner, have to step in and fulfill that role, so that the job gets done. So there's a little bit more like backups when you have a bigger team than when you're solo.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. It's just a thought I had because, uh, I can resonate with that as well. Whenever people more understanding when Jim Bliss gets on the phone, oh Jim, it's all good, man, and then versus like an office person calling, oh technician's getting held up. It's kind of maybe a different thing there, but leading with honesty, regardless, that's all you can do, and I think people are more gracious when you just conduct yourself in that way. Um, so so let's talk about marketing, Jim. Like you've been pretty booked out, busy, really consistently since you got things going. What does your marketing journey look like? It sounds like maybe originally you were like, I'm Jim and I left my job and I'm ready to help with handyman services. And I'm sure it's evolved since. If you could kind of walk us through your marketing journey and what's worked really well for you.
You may be shocked at this, but we still, I would say, do not have marketing. Like, I we have my wife set me up as a Facebook, because I'd never had Facebook before this time, and we've now upped that to over 800 followers, and so that's a little bit of marketing. She actually is able to put me on some of the local sites around town that are looking for people, things like that. So whatever those local sites are, she'll put. If someone says, "Hey, looking for someone to hang a TV," she'll put my name on there. So looking to maybe paint a room, she'll put my name on there. Some will come to me, some will not. My youngest son Dylan had put me on a Squarespace for a web design, and we get some good feedback from that. But it was, if you want to say marketing, I don't really know that I do any kind of marketing right now other than family and friends and literally referrals. We do have a Google page and we have, like I said, the Squarespace on there. We've been able to get 55 5-star reviews right now on that Google page. I get a lot of people that will call me and say, "Hey, I looked at your Google reviews, and that's why I called you. I looked at your Squarespace, looked at a couple pictures, things like that. Looked at your Facebook and seen some pictures." But right now, it's kind of funny because I've been listening to the Handyman Academy that Alan has out there, going through the Yelp, designs that he was talking about whenever he first started being on Yelp and paying for Yelp, not paying for Yelp. And it's kind of funny because I kind of turned that down when I first started because I really don't understand. I didn't understand what Yelp is. Maybe didn't understand it other than it's like a Yellow Pages back in the day. And so now I'm rethinking everything with Yelp because maybe I need to be updating that, or maybe I need to be putting some stuff on there. And as our company wants to grow, that's what I need to start doing because, I've heard people say, "Well, I don't do any marketing. I don't do any advertising. I don't pay for that," which I don't right now, which is fine. I think we've been fine so far. But if we want to take it to the next level, we want to do something else, that's where I'll be giving Jason a call so that I can start figuring out how to do some marketing and trying to do something maybe a little more than just word of mouth, going forward.
Yeah, and well, I commend you for just getting out there. I mean, you obviously have the word I love to use here, and is what you have is reputation. Even though you initially said like, "Oh, we don't really have much marketing," but your reputation in the community with your friends, family, neighbors, that's marketing. And that's how a lot of people when they get started, we see it all the time in the Facebook groups like, I've been booked solid for a month and I've only been in business for, I've already been in business for 3, 4, or 5, 6 months. And that's pretty common because they're great people with great reputation. And when that word of mouth ultimately will start to, simmer down, the slow season hits, Thanksgiving, Christmas time. And that's where the importance of a more foundational marketing strategy to lift that base floor of like lead flow calls comes into play. But obviously, if you've been pretty consistently booked 2, 3, 4 weeks out, you have a really strong reputation. Your Google page, if anyone out there listening, if you guys are in business or just about to start, you need to get verified on Google. Jim has done an excellent, excellent job, well above average for being in business for a little over a year now and having 56 five-star reviews. By the way, Jim, you got 56, but you
56.
just in five, so maybe an 81 came in, man. But that is absolutely critical. You're probably getting more calls and inquiries than you might know from Google. But it just reinforces that reputation that's carried you to where you are today. So I just commend you for obviously providing amazing service, amazing experience for your clients that share your name pretty liberally.
Yeah, I think it was cool. I was talking to Jim the other day on a coaching call, and looked him up on Google. And I'm like, you have 55 like 5-star reviews. I'm like, for me, that's like amazing because like I think our rating is like 4.8, right? Because you try the best you can, but you're always going to encounter those people that are just the negative Nancy's, and uh, they leave you a 1-star review, and there's like, what can I do? Or I didn't even work for you, or I'm sorry that it turned out that way. Like, but you got 56 5-star reviews. Like that's pretty amazing. And I think that there's two different types of marketing that I see. I'm not a marketing guy, Jason is. But the way that I see it, I put it in two buckets. There's online marketing and offline marketing. And the Google reviews and the reputation and like just all of that, that's the offline marketing. That's beautiful stuff. That's going to get you a lot of word of mouth referrals. But you also, I think, have to do both buckets. You have to do online and offline. And you've done a really good job offline. So imagine, what it could look like with that online, really pumped up. And you mentioned like Yelp, right? People all the time say, "Oh, Yelp is a ripoff," right? And Angie's a ripoff, this and that. It's like you don't have to spend money on these things, but I would highly recommend you create the free accounts on them. So like Yelp has a free account you can create. You can put pictures on that free account. You can put your information. You don't have to pay them a dime, but you have a free account on there. Same with, Google, same with Nextdoor, same with Instagram, all this stuff. Like it's good to have all these free accounts that you can, and you don't necessarily need to pay them, but they're just more ways where people can find you, which is pretty interesting. It's funny. Uh, so years ago, I was like, I had opened up this other phone number, like for my personal self, not the business, but my personal number. And somehow or another, I created some free accounts with that number. And so now it's still like there's still people texting me on that number, even though I don't use that number anymore. I check it every once in a while, and I'm like, oh man, so I don't even know what free account it is. But free accounts really help, and they get your name out there more than you think. So I think you're doing a great job, Jim. There's obviously some room for improvement with the online stuff, but you've been killing it with Google reviews. I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
One
Yeah, and I
step
will
at a
say
time.
this really quick is that, what Jason was saying about the reputation And again, whenever we were talking about a name for the company, some people have even told me, don't put your name on it, name it, something else or whatever. But there's a specific reason that it's on there, because I wanted the name to have a good name in the name, if that makes sense. And so when people say the Bliss Fix and they have the name Bliss in there, I wanted them to understand, go back to Proverbs 22:1, which was on our business card about having a good name. And I think I want people to understand that there's some value to that, meaning I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do a good job and do the very best that I can to help you with your situation. As I said before, whether I can do it or I have to refer you to somebody else, those are the things that we want to do. So we want to make people feel comfortable when we're in their home. We want to let them know we have integrity. We want them to know that we're honest. We want them to know that we're dependable. And so having the name in there every time I walk into somebody's house, I don't take that for granted. They've allowed me into their home to do something in their home. You would be surprised if the people leave. So one customer, I went to their house. I think I did 4 or 5 projects for her, and I never met her. Everything was over text. Everything was over what she'd seen me on Google, what she's seen on Facebook, and she would leave me a key to her house. I went in, she would mark what she wanted. I'd go in there and take care of it, and she would send me payment. I was just blown away by that they trusted me that much, and that's not just one. I've had several. The other day, I did a job for a professional baseball player. I didn't even realize it whenever I went in there. And then I realized that his wife was with over 158,000 Instagram followers. She's an interior designer. I hung some wallpaper. She did a video on the wallpaper that I hung. She didn't mention my name, but that's okay. But she did it from a company, all of that. But they left the house while I was in there working, texted me and said, "Hey, we'll be back in a couple hours, whatever." So I hope that helps people understand the integrity, the honesty, that we feel that that people do trust us inside their home, and we don't take it for granted. Whenever we're in there, we try to do a good job, try to clean up, try to make everything look as nice or better than when we first walked in.
Hey, quick break here. If you are a handyman that feels stuck, this is for you. Most handyman simply stay stuck, working long hours, wearing too many hats, but it doesn't have to be that way. With the Handyman Journey Business Coaching, I will help you raise your rates, get better clients, and help you build systems so your business actually works for you. So don't waste another year figuring it out the hard way. Let's work together. You can book your free consultation with me, and you can also check out my coaching programs over at handymanjourney.com/coaching.
Join over 400 professional handyman businesses that are flourishing with Handyman Marketing Pros. Our team will equip you with a modern professional website, SEO, and an online marketing presence to take your trade business to the next level. You can see our programs, pricing, and schedule a free strategy call at handymanmarketingpros.com. That's handymanmarketingpros.com.
That's so good, Jim. And I want to put a little plug out there for the people listening. If you guys want to hear an amazing story, like Jim did his testimony at his church, he shared it with me. Absolutely fantastic. Go to YouTube, type in Jim Bliss, the Jefferson Church in Jefferson, Georgia. Absolutely phenomenal story. And you'll understand a lot more about the Bliss family name. There, that story alone is like, I want to hire that guy. Like if I lived in Georgia, your story is very inspiring. And I want to recommend that to anyone listening. If you guys really just want an uplifting, good testimony, I would highly recommend that.
Is that My Story 2022, Jim Bliss at the Jefferson Church?
Yeah, that one.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Jim. I had a couple notes. Like one, it's so funny you mentioned this like influencer that you worked with. Like it was just not even 30 minutes before we got on the recording session here, and I just jot little notes and things that come to my brain. And something that I've always lived by is treating every single client like they're an influencer. And funny enough, like Alan was my first handyman client. He didn't have a YouTube channel back then. And now, well, he's Alan Lee with Honestly Handyman, the Handyman Journey. And so it's always just been something on my heart of like treating every single person like they're an influencer who can send you loads of business. But whether they are or not, it doesn't matter. But you should treat them and love them and care for them like they are. And I think approaching your customer service, how you run your business, how you answer the phone, how you show up to the job, how you clean up, how you follow up should imitate that, like that love and that care, like they are an influencer with millions of followers. And so anyway, I commend you for that, man. And then the other note I have of Proverbs 22:1, I love that. A good name is more desirable than great riches, and favor is better than silver or gold. So it just emphasizes that reputation. Like Proverbs is something that whether you're religious or not, it's wisdom. It's not even like it's just wisdom. And I think there's so much business application there. So thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's awesome that it's on your business card, and there's so much business gold in Proverbs. And obviously, King Solomon understood. Maybe he saw that Google profiles, online reputation building, building a good name, just has so much benefit, especially for handyman businesses where people are just struggling to find someone they trust in their home.
I I love that, Jason, and it makes me think of a story. Yesterday, we were working for a client, and I went and met with him and asked him how he heard about us. Well, anyways, so he's buying this client that we were working for is buying a new house. So he was at the title company the week before, and he saw our van. So this van right behind me, he saw our van parked in the parking lot of this title company because we were doing work for another interior designer in that same area. And he's like, "I saw your truck. It was nice and clean." Then the guy came out. He was had a uniform. He opened up the van door. It was super organized. He's like, "So I'm gonna call these guys," and we got a job from that. So it's just really cool to like to go off what you said, like treat everyone like they're an influencer, and always be ready because you never know who's watching. Like we didn't even know that this guy found us from seeing us in that parking lot. It was kind of interesting. So make sure your vans are, decaled, make sure they're clean, make sure you got uniforms on, and it's just you never know who's watching. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, so let's kind of pivot gears here. So let's talk about like your pricing journey, Jim. I'm sure, initially everyone prices way too low. We like to call it business tuition. Your lowest prices you'll ever charge is when you're first getting started. So any new business owner out there that's listening, give yourself some grace. Like everyone is undercharging when they first start. You're losing money. Maybe your family might be a little upset at you because they saw how little you made for so much work. So if you could just walk us through like your pricing journey, Jim, like where'd you start and where are you now?
Well, so I think I did the same thing most people do. Just go to Google and start, putting it in handyman pricing. I found some documents that I downloaded, that shows, pricing, but then you realize really quick, if I'm sure the Allen's pricing in California is different than the pricing in Georgia, and so you have to kind of understand that even though whoever wrote this handyman price list is really basing it on wherever they're at. And so I had to play with that a little bit, go high, go low, things like that. But the main thing that I've learned from one person was like, how much do you think you need to make a day? And that's what I tried to do. So, what is this job going to take me all day? Is this job going to take me an hour? Is this job going to take me 2 to 4 hours? Things like that. I broke that apart. And basically what I've come down to is I feel like if I'm making money and I'm moving forward, then I'm okay. So I don't want it to cost me more money on the job. Obviously, there's been a couple jobs where I probably lost money because it took me longer than, what I thought it would take. So they're life lessons that you just have to learn. And you just have to go out there and find out what the market is gonna stand, and go from there. And to your point, I really don't charge, one person higher than the other person. I try to, keep it the same. If I'm going to charge them $100, it's going to be $100, whether you're a millionaire or you're just starting out in life, whatever. It doesn't really doesn't matter. I'm not trying to, jump up. I'm going to a $2 million house, so I can probably charge this person a lot more money. I just personally have never done that. To me, it's just the same thing. So, again, building that reputation. I don't want anybody to think I'm trying to take advantage of them, and I try to my best to be fair pricing. I have at times dropped my, even though I've given an estimate, I dropped that price because I felt like, hey, this didn't take me as long as it did. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. Take some money off, and that's actually gotten me more work. So that's really where the pricing, for me is coming to. I think everybody just had to play with it, a little bit.
Hmm. I love it. Have you ever been in a instance where you said, "Hey, I'll do this for this X price," but then you get into it and it just turns into way more? Like, how do you navigate that?
To be honest, I just kind of eat it. That's, I'm just like, hey, I'm not going to go to somebody and, now don't get me wrong. If it was something that was material wise, like, hey, this is going to cost another $500 in material, then I would have to go to them and, have that conversation with them before we move forward. But if it's like a labor, like for me, just having to be on site longer than what I thought, I would probably just eat that. Would not force that issue. At least that's what I've been doing. I don't know if that's the right or wrong way to do that. Again, I'm only talking like an hour, 2 hours, something like that. If it was going to be days, then and that may be a different conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And really the gamble of business is, you win some, you lose some. And hopefully you win more than you lose. Like that's the risk that you take in business, especially our business, labor intensive. We had a job recently where we were replacing the door guide in the middle of a shower glass door, a bypass, sliding shower glass door. And for whatever reason, I wasn't out there. Something happened and one of the glass pieces shattered. And it was a really old shower glass door, so we couldn't find a brand new one at that time. We could order one, but the client was selling the home, so he needed to get it going. So we made the gut decision to buy a brand new, whole door, like whole frame and everything. And so we swapped it out. Well, afterwards, the guy's like, you know, like, what did it cost you? We told him materials cost you. He's like, well, and then I said, okay, so all in all, the materials were about $600, but I don't expect you to pay any of that. Like this was our fault. We're completely covering it. He says, oh, no, no, no. I like you guys. I want you guys to come back. I don't want to scare you guys away. And he's like, and to be honest, I kind of needed a new shower door anyways. So he's super cool. And then he's like, how much labor did you have in it? So we're like, we kind of gave him a number and he's like, well, what if we split it? So he ended up giving us like $450. So it was pretty cool, but it was like putting it on just like out there, like, hey, this is what it costs us, but I don't expect you to pay anything. And what I've found when I do that, most of our ideal clients, like they want to take care of us. They understand that we went above and beyond and we made this right. And they don't want to just leave us hanging. Some people they do, and that's the risk. You win some, you lose some. But most people, like if I've had a job that takes me 5 hours longer than I estimated it, that would be horrible. But it's happened, right? I just tell them like, hey, I quoted it for this. It actually took us this because we encountered X and X and X. I don't expect you to pay me the difference, but I just wanted to let you know that. Most of the time people will come back and be like, okay, how about if I pay you an extra 2 hours? And I'm like, great, like fantastic, right? That's the risk of business that I'm taking. But I found good luck in just being honest with people and tell them what it is, and then also not expecting anything in return and just seeing what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And my thought too on this whole subject is overall, honesty is scalable. Like if your goal is to grow and add technicians, like you have to operate with honesty and integrity. You have to show up no matter what you perceive someone's income to be. You price the job based on how you'd price any job, no matter where it was at. So that's a really important piece. So I commend you there, Jim, of not, feeling that temptation of, well, I could probably double this and they would accept it. For some people out there, maybe that's what they do, but we certainly would advise that integrity, that honesty, no matter who you're working with. Your price should come from your numbers and what you know that you need to charge to do that job. So I commend you on that. And on Alan's point, like you win some, you lose some. Absolutely. And I think that pricing consistently, being honest, having integrity, it's going to tip that in your favor where you're winning more, you're profitable on more than what you're losing on. But absolutely in the first year, especially 18 months, 24 months, 5 years, 10 years, there's a lot of learning, there's a lot of failure. There's a lot of shoot. I know now when I'm mounting a TV on some masonry, like, I know that I'm going to have to account for some different things, some different expenses. So, it's part of that business tuition. So anyway, I just want to call out and commend you on that one, Jim. It's just having that integrity, that honesty, that consistent pricing, no matter who you're serving. It will also serve you well as you grow your business because you don't have to have any, there's no deception. It's just what it is.
Yeah, and I would say too, and I'm sure Alan knows this is you really need to ask the right questions on the front end. So one of the things that I learned really quick is I can hang a ceiling fan, but I can't hang a 20-foot ceiling fan up in a 20-foot ceiling for the same price I can do an 8-foot ceiling fan. So the first question you start learning when you tell someone your price for a ceiling fan is how high is the ceiling? Because I'm gonna have to go rent a ladder to do your 20-foot ceiling. It's gonna cost me $100 a day to do that. So, same thing when you said masonry for a TV, if I'm just gonna do it in a regular, sheetrock, TV to mount it there, that's not it. I can do that for one price. And I can also do that by myself and it's 40, 50 inches. But if it's a 65, 75, 90-inch TV on concrete and masonry, that's a totally different price. So the first thing I would tell somebody is make sure you ask the right questions on the front end before you have to go back on the back end and say, I didn't realize this was going to be a 20-foot ceiling or whatever it is. And now I'm going to have to either eat this or try to charge you more money. So
So I've got a fun question for you guys on this subject. I'd love to kind of open up for both of you guys. Like, what are the most important questions that you didn't know you had to ask? Like in those kind of scenarios, like what are some that come to mind of like job specific, like good questions that you just totally did not think to ask and it kind of came back to bite you?
Well, one of them is when we're talking about ceiling fans, like Jim just talked about, is if we're like what type of light switch does it have? If we're replacing a light fixture with a ceiling fan, does it have a dimmer switch? Something that the client doesn't even think about, right? But if you can't put a ceiling fan on a dimmer switch. I never thought about that till I started encountering that, some light fixtures have dimmer switches. And if you just want to swap that with a ceiling fan, you're going to need to swap the light switch as well. And so it's like, that's some interesting stuff. So it's like all these little things to think about. And then if you're going from a light fixture to a ceiling fan, you got to make sure that the junction box is rated for a ceiling fan. Like all these intricate things that like you think, oh, you got a ceiling fan. Yeah, it's going to be this price. But you can go pretty deep with questions, making sure, that you have all the bases covered. Does anything come to your mind, Jim, like when you're thinking about questions that you should ask for specific jobs?
I'm sure I've written some down, but those were the biggest ones that I had to learn really quick because those were some of the most common. Sometimes even for garbage disposal, what size do you have in there now? Is it a new install or am I replacing the one you currently have? Because some of the people just say, I want a garbage disposal, and you're like, okay, and you get there and they don't even have one to start, so that's a whole different ballgame versus, is this a half horsepower? Is this 1.5 horsepower? uh, garbage disposal, what is it, that you have? So I think, at first, whenever you start out, you're like, just, running over there, let me go change this garbage disposal, no problem. Then you get there and you're like, now you have 10 more questions, to ask. And so there's multiple things that you could probably go to sheetrock. What size is it? Half inch? Is it 3/8? You know the approximate. I've started now trying to get people to send me pictures because when I first started, I would run every job and try to estimate it, before I would give a price or anything, I would go and run. And then I was really just wasting gas and time, trying to go back and forth. So now once I get a little bit of detail, I'll say, can you send me a picture of the wall you want, wallpaper on, or the hole that you'd have in it, what's behind it, those kind of things. How high do you want this TV mounted? Is it on a mantle? You have a mantle, just whatever. And once they send me a picture, then I can ask 4 or 5 more questions versus going out there asking. Then I have to go back again to actually do the job. So I try to eliminate that as much as possible now.
Cool. There's certainly a correlation with the more questions you have, the less trips to Home Depot or Lowe's or shout out your hardware store that you have to make. So 100%. And I remember, like, I know a big one is how many stories is the house? With the gutter cleaning. For some reason, I feel like I hazily recall you telling me something, and maybe it was someone else, but like you showed up and it's like a 2 or 3 story house. It's like, oh shoot, I don't think I have the insurance for this, and also I don't have the equipment, the ladder, I didn't charge correctly. So questions will save you a lot of different good things.
Yep, exactly. 100%. Or like, yeah, someone needs a toilet, installed, right? Well, is this on the first floor or the second floor? And is the new toilet on the first floor or the second floor? Like, do we have to haul it up there? Because that's a heck of a deal if you got to haul one toilet up there by yourself, but you can make it happen. But it's that kind of stuff you need to factor in.
Yeah.
One encouragement I have to all our listeners out there is ask questions, even if you feel like it's a dumb question. Like, please just ask your client that. Encourage if you have team members to ask questions. It just makes life easier whenever you have that, like, really just open to asking questions. You're ultimately going to be much more successful and have a better team culture as well, with people that are open and comfortable with asking about things rather than moving forward and things not going correctly. That costs a lot of time and money. So you kind of touched on a little bit there, Jim, as far as your estimating process. So, we use the word journey a lot because, business is a journey. You're walking along, there's different people coming along, you're changing how you're doing things, you're learning things, you're going down wrong paths, and then maybe you find a right one every once in a while. But if you could kind of walk us through your estimate journey, like how do you estimate jobs right now? And like, what have you learned from your experience in estimating handyman jobs as profitably as possible?
I mean, there is so much to learn because it's not even funny. Like every day to me is still a new day of learning, whether I think I know how to estimate it or I don't know how to estimate it. I materials is tough. I do have a Home Depot account, so I can go on my Home Depot app and punch in the numbers or whatever I think it's going to be, and then I may add say 20% to that to just if I'm kind of off on my estimate for whatever it needs. Whenever I'm estimating for most materials, I will just tell the customer, this is my labor price, and everything above that is material. I I personally do not increase the labor price. I just charge whatever it is, and what I do is I'll charge a pickup fee, just like Home Depot does, to bring it to you. So my time going to Home Depot to pick up 4 or 5 2x4s or whatever it is that I may need, I charge for a trip charge for that. And so I try to do the materials, whatever it is. If it's $50, this is $50, and I just charge for the actual material. I just charge a trip fee to pick it up. And again, estimating, again, it's a hit or miss sometimes because but you have to. It's only due to experience, like how long I think it's going to take me to do something, so how long I know it's taking me to do something. And then I will, go from there because I'm like, well, last time I did this, it took me 2 hours. I think I can do it now in an hour and a half. So maybe I can save a little time and money on that.
Awesome.
Love it. So, Jim, what do you do operationally to make your business more efficient?
It's funny because I would say we're not the most efficient team at all right now, and we're learning that kind of every day. That we're trying to make better choices, better decisions on efficiencies. We're really starting to detail that down right now, more than we did whenever we first started. So just like I said, so trying to estimate more over the phone if possible by getting pictures and things like that. And I think I learned a little bit of this from you, Alan, where you're kind of like, this is about how much it's going to cost, and try to go from that perspective versus giving a hard number. And I try to tell people, that without me seeing it, it may, it could change once I get on site. And I try very hard not to change that. But if I keep, if it's going to be overwhelming or something like that, then I change it. But um, again, the efficiencies of phone calls. Right now, we're just doing everything on our own, whether it's me or my wife answering emails or answering phone calls. We're doing all of the billing and things. My wife does a great job of, sending a follow-up email after we're done, taking care of a customer. That's one of the things that we've done to get the reviews that we get. My son Dylan had done the QR code for us, that we have a little card that we give out to every customer. We leave it with them, so all they have to do is scan that QR code, and they can go straight to Google and give us a review. Try to make that as easy as possible. We can leave 'em one of our cards on the table or something like that. And that's really about all we're doing right now. We have a long way to go and a lot to learn, a lot of opportunities for improvement. That we thought we could have. Every day is growing every day.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and I know that we're gonna be starting handyman school here pretty quick. So I'm excited to start that with you, Jim. We're gonna be going through kind of the business side of the handyman business. So I'm super stoked about that. And hopefully you'll be coming out of that with a lot more kind of ideas on business efficiency and how to grow from that. So I'm stoked about that.
Yep. And I think I want to commend your mindset too, Jim. Like, every day is a new day to learn, and it's a one step at a time thing. If we are constantly making little improvements and efficiency changes every day, every week, every month, on a regular basis, like you're just setting yourself up for upward trajectory, more success, whether that's, more profit as an owner operator, a family business, or, more profitability to kind of hire and grow the company through employees, and service offerings. So I just commend your heart on that, man, of just being open to that. A lot of business tuition paid in the first few years. And also I want to shout out, the review card. That is an amazing, amazing way to get reviews. If it's like a business card, but with a QR code that goes to your Google review link that just says, "Hey, thanks for your business. Leave us a review." We actually have, Alan helped us with these, but we gotta have a ton of Canva templates. Canva is like an online graphic design software for dummies. We've used it a lot in our business. And we've got a bunch of templates, for review cards, business cards, flyers, etc. It's on handymanmarketingpros.com/templates. And so we've got all these cool like review cards, flyers, all kinds of stuff that Alan graciously let us use his team members and all the photos and stuff an example. But following up with clients and getting reviews on Google, it it should be a systematized process. So I commend you, your son Dylan, for getting those QR codes because it's out of sight, out of mind. You just have to show up, do the work, leave the card, and those reviews are naturally going to come in. And anyone listening to this, if you look up Bliss Fix in Jefferson, Georgia, you're going to be able to see those 56 Google reviews, and they're mostly automatically happening because of those QR codes.
So, Jim, I would love to hear about some biggest wins and some biggest losses in your handyman business over this last year. Like along your handyman journey, what would you kind of attribute to your biggest wins and your biggest losses?
Yeah. So first of all, I think just being able to be out on my own, make the decisions on my own, for the business now, it's up to me for, profit loss, whatever it is going to be on us now. Some of the biggest wins I think is having great support, family and friends, good referrals that people have referred us to their jobs and their family and friends. 2024, we won Best of Georgia in the handyman category, which was really exciting for us. I did a CAP certification, which means it's certified for aging in place specialist, meaning I can go into anybody's aging in place person's home. I can help them with lighting or trip hazards, grab bars, things like that. I got that certification. We've had over 250 customers, within the whatever that is, 15 to 18 months, since we've been open. Again, the 55 or 56 Google reviews and over 800 Facebook, Messenger. So I've learned a ton in that I never thought that I would be where I'm at right now, especially in what I consider a short span. I don't know if that's considered for everybody. I have no idea, but to me, it's a very short span and very successful in doing all that. I'm really, really excited about that. And any losses really is just, again, learning the customers, learning, some of the pricing. Not every customer is your right customer. Not every job is your right job. Sometimes you have to say no. As much as I try to help people and want to be there for them, sometimes I just have to say, you know what, that's out of my league, out of my niche. So maybe I have to find somebody else. And if I don't know somebody, I'll try to find somebody that can help you. If not, then it just is what it is sometimes.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Jim. A couple of things I want to highlight there. Like, I'll start with the last one. A referral list. Like, I recommend, like, if like create a nice professional little like pamphlet or a piece of paper. Not have to be complicated, but just have,
Mhm.
the Bliss Fix and then trusted referrals, and then list your trusted referrals that you can hand that or send that to somebody. We have a contractor that in our area, that's what he did for us. And we attribute so much value to him and our relationship with him because if he can't do it, he knows someone that does, but he's got this nice little printout sheet. So I encourage anyone listening, if you're making these great referrals all the time, like make this little sheet. You're adding value to your relationship, to your customer that they appreciate that. Um, I'd love to hear a little bit more real quick. I know we're kind of winding down here in the next 5 minutes or so, but that the aging in place certification, I Love that. That is, in my opinion, one of the best handyman niches that there is, to specialize in because of the need for one. Two, the marketing is relatively straightforward because it's a lot of relationship based, like getting into a 55 plus neighborhood, the senior living facilities. They just need a trusted contact that can do all this repeatable, systematized work like grab bars, etc. Can you talk a little bit more about that aging in place certification and kind of how just explain a little bit about that?
So it really just come about just like what you were talking about. I was getting some 55 and older subdivisions or locations that were calling me about some handyman work, and that's what made me think about it. And was just researching online, how to kind of, is there any kind of certification out there or anything to do? And I come across, it's called CAPPS, and it's for the National Association of Home Builders, I think is what it's through, and it's just a course you can take. Anybody can take it, and I think it took me, I think it was 3 or 4 different, I say classes, but, seminars to work with, and it was very well designed, very well, organized, and I was able to take that and pass that certification, and so I have the little logo on my, website, on our website, and we're able to do that, so it really helps when you lighting today, what people don't understand, lighting is like one of the number one things, people bumping into walls, they're tripping over things that they can't see. Lighting really needs to be updated in probably 90% of the houses that I walk into. There's a lot of trip hazards, rugs, and things like that that are in people's way. And grab bars obviously is huge. There's a lot of grab bar companies out there that I probably cannot compete with, but I can at least go in and say, I know, what the location of this grab bar needs to be. I can talk the talk and walk the walk, so to speak, of what needs to be done in someone's house. There's many different types of grab bars, seats, everything in bathrooms, again, lighting, things like that that can be done, doorways, whatever. So it was a good certification. I was really glad that I took it. I learned a lot from it. It was not hard, like it wasn't like a long drawn out process. I think I did it over 2 months time, and it was really good.
Cool. I want to shout that out for our listeners. It's called CAPS certification. If you search that on Google, you'll be able to find the National Association of Home Builders more information on that. I absolutely love that because you are one, you're certified, you're official, you know your stuff on aging in place services. Two, you're building trust and authority with your potential clients and your clients that you are the expert on aging in place services. When you combine that with just good reputation, great reviews, it's a slam dunk for someone that's calling to help. Like they need to find someone to put aging in place, safety things into their parents' home, like the kids calling. And that, if you see all those boxes ticked with the certification, the reviews, just a nice company to work with, they know their stuff, they specialize in aging in place. I mean, what a great niche sub handyman service. So I commend you for pursuing that. And I think it's an amazing any handyman niche focus. It's very scalable and the marketing is relatively straightforward and relationship based because there's a huge
Mhm.
need.
Mhm. It's huge. Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Um, so wrapping up here, Jim. I had one other note. You mentioned what 250 customers over the course of about 16 months. So I crunched a quick number here. So we're looking at about, if we're talking 20 business days in a month, we're talking 320 days that you've been in business. And so that's almost a new client per day. It sounds like you probably worked more than just Monday through Friday, but nonetheless, I commend you on the impact that you've made in the first 16 months in business, man. Just underscores your reputation and the trust that people have in your service.
Thank you. I say 250. Now, some of those may be repeat customers. I just did a quick on my CRM, try to find out how many, but it's probably pretty close, to that. And it was, I think I just looked at it earlier today where we at least have 10 to 14, I think, a month that we get new customers calling us. And so, like I said, in a small amount of time, it has grown way beyond anything that you know, I'm just way more blessed than I ever thought I would be at. There's just no way I thought that this would take off. Some people said, why didn't you do this, years ago? And the only thing I say is God has a time for everything, and this is when it is. So I'm not worried about what's in the past or what I did. I have a great past where it's got me to where I'm at today. And we're looking, just looking towards the future. And I think it looks brighter than I thought it would be. So really fortunate.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, man. And I can't help but think of there's a lot of heavily in Proverbs, it talks about looking at the path that's in front of you. Don't worry about the past. Like just focus on what you're doing right now. Like the past has played its part, but what's important is what's right in front of you. So anyway, man, I just love your attitude and approach on that. I also think of Alan as a big Dave Ramsey fan, and what Alan shared with me the other day was his kind of common quip of, "How you doing today, Dave? Better than I deserve."
Better than I deserve.
Yeah. So that I feel that from you. I certainly feel that way myself.
Yeah.
Better than I deserve. So wrapping up here, Jim. We have a lot of new handyman business owners that listen to this. We have a lot of prospective handyman business owners that listen to our podcast. We shared before we hit the big scary record button that there's a lot of handyman businesses that start because they have been listening to our podcast, where they started 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever. And they're kind of inspired that they can do this. Like they could totally do this because, Jim's doing this and all these other guests, they've done this and they're doing well and they're happy. Or fulfilled. So that said, what advice would you have for any prospective or new handyman business owner that's listening right now?
I would say, have a lot of confidence in yourself, have a lot of confidence in your support team. If you have some people behind you, pushing you, sometimes it's just a leap of faith. I'm not telling everybody to go, quit their job tomorrow and go start this. If they, we were in a very good situation financially to be able to do this. And it really worked out, really good timing. But I think, know your niche, whatever that is. If you want to, just do sheetrock, or you want to do sheetrock and hang, TVs and ceiling fans, things like that, whatever.
Cool. Thanks so much, Jim, for sharing. Thanks for the time, man. Our first inaugural cruise ship guest, most likely our last. So, man, that is just so. I feel blessed that Alan does too. That we had you on the podcast today, coming from the cruise ship, the high seas. So, thank you for your time, man. We really appreciate you.
All right, friends, that's a wrap of today's episode of the Handyman Success Podcast. And I want to thank you so much for being here, but I want to encourage you, don't let the growth stop right here. I want to encourage you to dive deeper into our handyman ecosphere. We host free live webinars and live videos every single month, and these are jam-packed with strategies that can help you grow and excel to the next level in your business. And join us on our private Facebook page, where there's thousands of other handyman just like you that have similar struggles that are talking about how to grow and how to be a better person and have a better business. So for resources, training, and all of that, all in the same place, check us out at handymansuccess.net. You can get links to all of that information down in the comments section below. And that's it for today. Until next time, keep being an awesome person and keep pushing yourself to the next level. I want to talk to handymen out there who are just pulling their hair out because there's so much stuff to do in this handyman business. Running a business is already tough enough, and your software shouldn't make it harder to run. So I want to introduce you to the Handyman Champion CRM app. It's designed specifically for handyman, not plumbers, not roofers, but handymen. With it, you can schedule jobs, you can create estimates, you can create invoices, you can get paid right on the spot, and keep everything in one simple app. So stop piecing together random tools and start getting the app that's built for you. You can grab your free 30-day trial at handymanchampion.com.
Join over 400 professional handyman businesses that are flourishing with Handyman Marketing Pros. Our team will equip you with a modern professional website, SEO, and an online marketing presence to take your trade business to the next level. You can see our programs, pricing, and schedule a free strategy call at handymanmarketingpros.com. That's handymanmarketingpros.com.